Now it seems like the numbers are coming together. They're about to get, they're getting and likely to get, if you look at all the credible forecasts going forward, exactly the perfect economy that you want to run for re-election. And the bets that they made seem to be paying off, and it is the one obviously surefire way for, as a general matter of the course of 200 years in American history of American politics, to get reelected is had to have a strong economy.
And Joe Biden's been there for most of that 200-year history, come to think of it. That was Sig Heilemann. That's what they call him, Sig Heilemann, on MSDNC early this morning on Morning Joke. And it turns out the Biden economy is the best economy that anybody's ever seen if you're watching MSNBC. Just don't go to the grocery store after watching an hour of their television program. The radical left-wing extremists at the New Republic reporting the economy is booming. Don't expect Biden to get credit anytime soon. Yeah, because that's what's going on here. The big problem is Democrats just don't get enough credit for all the great stuff they're doing. And the Hill, surprisingly strong economy, shifts political calculations. The media's new talking point issued to them by the Democrat Party and government agencies. Oh, no, it's really great. Never mind the 3% reduction in real wages across the country. Never mind the grocery store shelves. Never mind the price of everything being so far through the roof. Have you looked at buying a new car lately? Have you looked at buying a used car lately? Have you gone to the grocery store lately? Have you looked at renting a car or purchasing air travel, an airline ticket? No, everything's great. The economy's never been better. This is what the media is going to tell us. And it kind of goes to that classic Soviet thing. They lie to us. We know they're lying to us. And on and on. It's pretty amazing stuff because the propaganda reach of the Democrat Party is boundless. Boundless, I tell you. It's everywhere you look. Just extraordinary. Yes, sir. Yeah, it was Elena Gorokova, a Soviet writer who had their number. She wrote in her book, A Mountain of Crumbs, about the glories of Soviet socialism. The Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Adolf Hitler, the National Socialist German Workers' Party. You see any coincidences there? Benito Mussolini, leader of the socialist movement in Italy, then hopped on the fascist bandwagon later on. And he describes fascism as a merger of state and corporate power. Now back to Elena Gorokova. Elena Gorokova wrote, and this is what you get with MSNBC and CNN and the Washington Post. I think the Washington Post has still not mentioned the IRS whistleblowers, which our last caller was talking about, JR, whose spouse worked for 38 years for the IRS. And one of the things JR was saying is, it's the leadership at the IRS that are the bad guys. You saw the IRS whistleblowers come forward and tell the truth under oath on Capitol Hill last week, and the news media buried it in a shallow grave near Las Vegas. But Elena Gorokova, A Mountain of Crumbs about the Soviet Union. The rules are simple. They lie to us. We know they're lying. They know we know they're lying. But they keep lying to us, and we keep pretending to believe them. And that is pretty much the state we're in the United States of America now when it comes to the merger of state and corporate power, the Democrat Party and the media. And MSDNC has this person. They've got a person that they pay money there, Mehdi Hasan. Mehdi Hasan is not on our side. Mehdi Hasan has got a Twitter account. He's an MSDNC guy. And there's a person named Aaron Rupar. And Aaron Rupar tweeted out a clip from Fox News, very upset. And he says in his tweet, I'm not going to call him X. I'm going to call him tweets because, shut up, stop changing the name of everything. UFOs are still UFOs. They're not UAPs. And Twitter is still sending out tweets and not X's or whatever they're supposed to be now. But in any case, Aaron Rupar writes, Hunter Biden has already been mentioned at least 104 times this morning on Fox News and Fox Business. He's watching both at once and counting the number of times Hunter Biden is mentioned because of the court date, and everything that was going on in the courtroom in Delaware. So naturally it was the topic of conversation, and panels were discussing Hunter Biden. So Aaron Rupert claims that he counted 104 mentions of Hunter Biden between two different networks, Fox News and Fox Business. Funny thing is, you go over to CNN, and it may have been mentioned 0 times, Hunter Biden's name, because they don't cover the news. They cover it up. And so that's what he says. Hunter Biden has already been mentioned at least 104 times this morning, Fox News and Fox Business, according to a transcript search. It's not 10 a.m. Eastern yet, so he's very upset. Then MSDNC's Mehdi Hasan went on Twitter and said, imagine if liberals or the Dems had a nationwide messaging apparatus. Yeah, try to imagine a world where that's the case, should we? Isn't that funny? An actual propaganda arm, says Mehdi Hasan. Honestly, maybe he's been in Supermax for the last 20 years with no access to the outside world. Imagine if liberals or the Dems had a nationwide messaging apparatus, an actual propaganda arm. Imagine that. I don't have to imagine that, Mehdi Hasan, which pumped out Jared Kushner's name, anti-Semite Mehdi Hasan, and alleged misdeeds daily, hundreds of times. Then you start to understand the messaging imbalance in this country and how GOP gets away with so much. How GOP gets away with so much. He's like smoking peace pipe. How GOP get away with so much. He's missing a word or two there. Yeah, but I love the guys in MSDNC. Now, you are a part of one of many. I mean, honestly, it's got 1,000 arms. The propaganda arm of the Democrat Party or liberals. Let's start with MSDNC, which pays you a salary. Then let's go to CNN. Then let's go to National Panhandler Radio, NPR, which has a Democrat Party propaganda outlet in every major city and every small hamlet across the country from coast to coast and beyond. We've got to include Hawaii and Alaska as well. And that's funded by us, the taxpayers. Then let's go to the Panhandler Broadcasting System, PBS. That is a propaganda arm of the Democrat Party and exclusively of liberals and the Democrat Party. Now, shall we go to CBS, the least trusted network in America, NBC, parent company of MSNBC, and ABC, where their lead anchor is, of course, a Clinton administration official, the revered George Snuffleupagus, who they pay, I think, $17 million a year to do propaganda for the Democrat Party. Let's go to Chunk Todd over at NBC, a former Democrat campaign staffer whose wife is a multi-million-dollar every campaign season Democrat Party operative working for Bernie Sanders' campaign and beyond. Working for Bernie Sanders' campaign, just like James Hodgkinson, who showed up on a baseball field and shot Congressman Steve Scalise, tried to murder every Republican on a baseball field. That's part of the propaganda apparatus of the Democrat Party. Then there's the Washington Post, and then there's the New York Times, and then of course there's Saturday Night Live and Comedy Central, and Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. If only the left, if only liberals had a propaganda arm the way conservatives do. Honestly, you're either very severely brain damaged, Mehdi Hasan, incredibly dishonest, or you've been living under a boulder for many years now. I find that amazing. And so, imagine that. Now, you have this. Who sent it to us? Because it was a listener that sent it to us. The Dwight Eisenhower, 1952 television commercial. Dwight Eisenhower presidential campaign ad, and the campaign it's a black and white television ad, and a nice lady is featured. She comes on. And she says, well, gosh, the Democrats, they're sure doing their best, aren't they? And then General Dwight Eisenhower explains, well, there's doing your best, and then there's doing your best.
Eisenhower answers America.
The Democrats have made mistakes, but aren't their intentions good?
Well, If the driver of your school bus runs into a truck, hits a lamppost, drives into a ditch, you don't say his intentions are good. You get a new bus driver.
You don't say your intentions are good. You get a new bus driver. That is a 1952 television ad, presidential ad, Dwight Eisenhower. He was known at that point as the Supreme Allied Commander in Europe, five-star general, presided over the smashing the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. My father helped. And then, of course, he was elected in 1952 as President of the United States, became president January 20th, 1953, and remained president until John F. Kennedy became president January 20th of 1961, having been elected in November of 1960, of course. Eisenhower, great ad, wonderful ad, great stuff, a lot of fun. Now, the Democrats, they've got a lot of issues with gender, don't they? They have a lot of terrible issues with gender because I think the entire Democrat Party is somewhat gender dysphoric. We might have some Richard Nixon for you later today, too, just to round things out because, Eisenhower's vice president. Let's go to soundbite number one. Here's a young woman. She turned 19 years old yesterday. So day before yesterday, she was 18. Yesterday, she turned 19. Her name is Chloe Cole. And Chloe Cole was convinced to change her gender. She's a young woman. But the Democrats convinced her to change her gender when she was 12 and 13 years old. And they started mutilating her when she was 15. They gave her puberty blockers at 12 and 13 and testosterone to turn her into a man when she was 12 and 13, a double mastectomy when she was 15. By the time she was 18, she realized that she had been abused as a child by the left, who are sexually dysfunctional, to say the least. And here is, just turned 19 yesterday, Chloe Cole testifying on Capitol Hill.
My name is Chloe Cole, and I am a detransitioner.
Detransitioner.
Another way to put that would be, I used to believe that I was born in the wrong body, and the adults in my life, whom I trusted, affirmed my belief, and this caused me lifelong, irreversible harm. I speak to you today as a victim of one of the biggest medical scandals in the history of the United States of America. I speak to you in the hope that you will have the courage to bring the scandal to an end and ensure that other vulnerable teenagers, children, and young adults don't go through what I went through.
That is Chloe Cole yesterday, just turned 19, sounding the alarm on Capitol Hill. The Democrats wanted to hit her in the back of the head with a shovel like Anthony Perkins in Psycho. And I've got more for you from her coming up because she is a brave young woman who told the truth in public yesterday. And the Democrats, of course, undermine her, attack Republicans for supporting her because they want more gender dysphoria, more gender dysfunction. And wait till you hear the lies that were told by the doctors and beyond. But she called it a medical scandal, and she's 100% right. And the Washington Post provided me with a dose of irony on the subject today as well. On the front page, above the fold, I'll have that for you as well. And then me being attacked for something I said on Newsmax about Joe Biden's dog. That's coming up too. Hey, breaking news. President Biden's plan to introduce a digital dollar is already underway, and it's vital that you understand the potential consequences. Contrary to their phony baloney claims, this initiative is not in your best interest or mine. Time is of the essence, so take action now. It's absolutely necessary to protect yourself, your financial future, your retirement. You can help protect your savings from the risks of the digital dollar by diversifying with gold and silver IRAs. Call the experts at American Alternative Assets at 888-4-GOLD-20. That's 3-8-4-GOLD-20. The number is 888-446-5360. Get all the guidance you need on safeguarding your retirement savings. Say no to Joe Biden's digital dollar. Call today, 888-4-GOLD-20, 888-446-5360. Call them now. Individual results may vary. There is no guarantee that past performance will be indicative of future results. Seek your own legal, tax, investment, and financial advice before opening an account. Yeah, wait till you hear this hearing. What a wonderful young woman, and she is a young woman. The Democrats tried to turn her into a young man. They pushed her. She transitioned from girl to boy, then back again. And the Democrats did it to her. That's coming up. Hey, it's Chris Plant, excited to tell you about our July 2024 Listener Sea Cruise. We'll be sailing around the British Isles, visiting Scotland and Ireland. Please join us. Book by this July 31st for extra savings. Visit ChrisPlantCruise.com. Now, young Chloe Cole was tortured nearly to death by the Democrat Party. Let's be honest, let's call it what it is. Who wanted her to transition from being a 12-year-old girl to being a 13-year-old boy. And the so-called doctors terrorized her parents. Chloe Cole testifying on Capitol Hill yesterday.
After surgery, my grades in school plummeted. Everything that I went through did nothing to address my underlying mental health issues that I had. And my doctors, with their theories on gender, thought that all my problems would go away as soon as I was surgically transformed into something that vaguely resembled a boy. Their theories were wrong. The drugs and surgeries changed my body, but they did not and could not change the basic reality that I am and forever will be a female.
Chloe Cole was grabbed by the left and told when she was 12 years old that she was a boy. She turned 19 yesterday. They pumped her full of testosterone, male hormones. They gave her puberty blockers. And when she was 15, they performed a double mastectomy on her, surgically tearing her breasts out of her before she had, gotten through puberty. Chloe Cole.
When my specialist first told my parents that they could have a dead daughter or a live transgender son, I wasn't suicidal. I was a happy child who struggled because she was different. However, at 16, after my surgery, I did become suicidal. I'm doing better now. But my parents almost got the dead daughter promised to them by my doctors. My doctors had almost created the very nightmare they said they were trying to avoid.
The Democrats did this to her, make no mistake, and they're doing it to as many children as they can across the country. Chloe Cole was having none of it yesterday. She talked about how she should be home celebrating her 19th birthday.
Today, I should be at home with my family celebrating my 19th birthday. And instead, I'm making a desperate plea to my elected representatives. Learn the lessons from other medical scandals like the opioid crisis. To recognize that doctors are human too, and sometimes they are wrong. My childhood was ruined along with thousands of detransitioners that I know through our networks. This needs to stop. You alone can stop it. Enough children have already been victimized by this barbaric pseudoscience. Please let me be your final warning.
Barbaric pseudoscience. Very well said. Very good. Very bright young woman with important testimony. You can have a dead daughter or a living transgender son, the doctors told her parents. They terrorized the parents into accepting this pseudoscience, the madness. Where do you hear the members of Congress on the subject coming up? Hey, the Washington Post doesn't have Chloe Cole on the front page or page 2 or page 3 or page 4 or page 5. They're attacking Donald Trump, and they don't have it on page 6 or page 7. Hey, wait a minute. I'm beginning to think the Washington Post didn't cover it at all, because they don't cover the news. They cover it up. They uncover, the opposite of cover the news. They're not in the news business. This is a Democrat Party propaganda broadsheet that comes out every day. And it helps set the tone for media across the country, like the New York Times. But they don't cover the news. They really don't. They're an appalling misrepresentation of a news organization. They're the Washington Post. Now, who is Chloe Cole, this young woman who is now 19 as of yesterday, 19 years old? Chloe Cole, born in 2004. She's an American activist who opposes gender-affirming care. No, for minors, it says. And supports bans on such care, following her own transition and then detransition. I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, which can be tampered with by extremists, Democrats. She's appeared with conservative politicians and media supporting and advocating for such bans. It's like leave the children alone. Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone. Now, here's the thing. She began transitioning at the hands of Democrats at the age of 12 and began detransitioning when she came to her senses on her own at the age of 17. But the Democrats had their way with her for about 5 years and have caused untold damage. Undergone treatment, puberty blockers, testosterone, a double mastectomy. That's all fine. She's from California's Central Valley, and she reported facing mental health challenges as a child, and included being on the autism spectrum. She's a detransitioner and describes herself as a former trans kid. Said she was diagnosed by some person with gender dysphoria at 9 years old. She was 9 years old, and they diagnosed her like it's a medical thing. Honestly, this is just as creepy. These people are extremely creepy. At 9 years old, she was treated by Kaiser Permanente clinics in the San Francisco Bay Area between the ages of 13 and 17. Describes herself as having been a tomboy as a young girl. Some of my favorite girls growing up were tomboys, honestly. They're fun. They're out there doing stuff with you, you know what I mean? Who did not fit social norms. Only started thinking about transitioning after creating an Instagram account on Al Gore's amazing internet. And reported being recommended, it was recommended to, at an Instagram account, she was recommended go to a bunch of different LGBTQ content that are coming for your children, particularly content containing transgender boys. She told the Daily Signal podcast, social media introduced me to this idea that I could be a boy. She began transitioning at 12 years old from girl to boy. The word transitioning has a lot of meanings, but the Democrats have boiled it down. Now, when you say trans, it just means transitioning, and transitioning has many applications. There's a transition during the president passes the baton from one president to the next. But for Democrats, trans and transitioning just means one thing, and that's transgenderism, right? So she began transitioning from girl to boy at 12 years old. I'll add from girl to boy. That she had been sexually assaulted during 8th grade, she says. She began binding her breasts afterward on the autism spectrum. She was prescribed puberty blockers called Lupron at the age of 13. A month later, she started testosterone injections, which she continued for 2 years. Had a double mastectomy at the age of 15 because the Democrats were destroying her. Less than a year after her surgery, she realized she may want to breastfeed someday. Hey, wait a minute. I might want to breastfeed someday. I might want to have children. I might want to be a mother. And the Democrats said, no. We've already taken care of that for you. We'll have none of that. She realized that she wouldn't be able to breastfeed. And at the age of 17, she reverted to using her birth name and detransitioned. That is to say, I'm no longer a boy. I'm no longer a 17-year-old young man. I am Chloe Cole, and I'm a girl. I'm a young woman. But the Democrats had already, worked their magic on her with the puberty blockers and the testosterone injections and the double mastectomy and the psychological warfare that they waged against her. The biological warfare. No, you're a biological this, you're a biological that. She's my sister, she's my daughter. Cole had said that her doctor did not follow the standards of care offered up by the World Professional Association for Transgender Health, also known as WPATH, like Warpath. They're on the warpath against children and normalcy. I have at the Chris Plant store coffee mugs and T-shirts that say, "Remember normal," because I knew years ago that the Democrats were coming after normal itself. Isn't that amazing? Yes, it is. Chloe also yesterday at the hearing talked about the effects that the Democrat Party's medical treatments, this is Dr. Mengele stuff, back to the Socialist Workers' Party of Adolf Hitler. But Dr. Mengele with the experiments on children and so on. And the Democrats have gone national with the gender experimentation on children. And Chloe said she is now among thousands. How many have they done this to? The news media doesn't cover it. Again, it's not in the Washington Post today, the hearing on Capitol Hill. Chloe, a very bright, very intelligent, very articulate young woman who has been abused by a corrupt system run by the Democrat Party, which is why it doesn't appear in the Washington Post today. But here's Chloe yesterday talking about some of the effects of their Mengele-like experimentation.
When I was 13, I had my first testosterone injection. It's caused permanent changes to my body. My voice will forever be deeper, my jawline sharper, my nose longer, my bone structure permanently masculinized, my Adam's apple more prominent, my fertility unknown. I look in the mirror sometimes and I feel like a monster. I had a double mastectomy at 15.
Because the Democrats pushed her into that corner. Her voice is deeper, her Adam's apple more pronounced. Her body structure has been changed because of years of testosterone injections. Wow. At the age of 13, they began that. The doctors told her parents, you can have a dead daughter, like she'd commit suicide, or a living transgender son, shaming the California parents, guilting the California parents into going along with this lunatic fringe scientific experiment that the Democrats are conducting on our children nationwide. And they cover the waterfront on this. They've got the transgender twerking for kindergarten and first grade, normalizing the abnormal. I was talking to somebody about this the other day, a grown man, and we were saying, years ago, you'd go to bars and they had transgender event restaurants and the drag brunch at this place in Washington, D.C. And, there are bearded men in dresses and, big hairy arms. And it was all done with a sense of humor. And it was it was like, oh, isn't this fun? They like dressing up as ladies. And then, and it was kind of funny, big city, bizarro humor. In the same time frame, they were murdering real comedy across the country, right? No more college campus comedy shows because they've murdered humor on college campuses. I'm amazed there are any improvs still open across the country because they've murdered comedy. You go to them and there people stand up there and attack Republicans for 10 minutes and, then they go away. And that's it. But this is what the Democrat Party has done, not just to Chloe Cole, but to she said there are thousands, and she's she, right? Dylan Mulvaney is he. We've got an update on him today, too, and his fine works. This is honestly, Dr. Mengele style, child biological gender experimentation and warfare. It's a form of biological warfare. They say biological male and biological female. Well, you can just say male and female. It means the same thing. Biological man and biological woman. Well, just say man and woman, because we know that a man is a biological man. We know that a woman is a biological woman. You don't have to say it, but it's part of the semantic biological warfare that they're waging against civilization itself. They're yesterday at the hearing, Republican congressman from Texas, Wesley Hunt. He has 2 daughters, and he decided to jump in on the conversation. He was in the hearing, of course. And Wesley Hunt, who I don't know him personally, but he seems like one of the good guys, I've got to say. And Texas Republican Wesley Hunt yesterday.
I can assure you that my 4-year-old and my 2-year-old daughters will not change in front of biological men. This is ridiculous. I don't care what party you are a part of. If you think that we're all equal and the same biologically, you've literally lost your mind.
Jerry Nadler, a.k.a. Wadler, from New York, Democrat, a disgrace to Western civilization. He's on the committee also, and he was in the hearing yesterday. And he angrily denounced Republicans like Wesley Hunt for daring to suggest that men shouldn't be in women's locker rooms, that boys shouldn't be in girls' locker rooms, that men shouldn't go home with all the trophies that were intended for women, that whole Title IX stuff from years ago. Jerry Wadler.
But I am absolutely disgusted by the Republican majority's bullying, bigoted framing of an issue that would otherwise be worthy of serious discussion. What we are witnessing today is nothing less than a taxpayer-funded platform for congressional Republicans to bully transgender kids who are already some of the most vulnerable members of our community.
They're among the most vulnerable members of our community, and the Democrats want to multiply their numbers because they want more vulnerable members of our community who are dealing with psychological trauma. They're children. Let them be children. Let them grow up. Don't sexualize them. Don't corrupt them. Don't surgically alter them. Don't pharmaceutically alter them. Don't convince them that they're something they are not. Allow them to be children. Allow them to grow up. And when they are of the age of majority, at the age of 12, you can't buy cold medicine. You can't buy cigarettes. You can't go to a tanning salon in the state of Maryland. You can't drive a car because we know you're not capable of making adult decisions. You can't join the military. There are a great many things you can't do as a minor. But the Democrat Party coming for your children and their genitals, just an appalling horror show. And I'm sorry, bullying and bigoted. It's bigoted. And he pretends he's protecting children, transgender children. Hey, teacher, leave those kids alone. Bullying and bigoted? You are a child sexual predator. And the thing is, the Republicans don't respond in kind. The Democrats always with the name calling and the smears and the slander. And, if I were in there in the committee room yesterday and I were a member of Congress, I would have responded in kind. Another term Joe Biden doesn't understand. I would have responded in kind by calling Jerry Nadler a child sexual predator who would butcher the genitals of children while we condemn child genital mutilation overseas. You are pushing it in our schools on our children. And if you say that they're among the most vulnerable people in our community, in our nation, we shouldn't try to increase their numbers. And you, sir, are victimizing the children. You're a terrorist. You are a child genital mutilator, and you should be expelled from Congress. I'd start with that. And then, then we'd have a lively discussion that would follow. Congressman Wesley Hunt tell you about his 2-year-old daughter and his 4-year-old daughter and how he doesn't want his kids, his daughters, involved in that kind of lunacy. But first, there was more Jerry Nadler, because Jerry Nadler is pushing the idea that boys should be in the girls' locker room and men should be in the ladies' locker room, competing against girls and mopping the floor with girls so they never win anything in sport.
The facts do not justify the fears that Republicans and their political allies gin up over the fairness of trans girls participating in girls' athletic teams, nor the further stigma it attaches to transgender children.
Yeah, that's right. It's the Republicans and the fear. That's what's going on. That's what it's all about. Boy, these guys, I tell you. Well, Wesley Hunt, thankfully, Republican from Texas, responded. Not the way I would have, with, exposing Jerry Nadler for the child sexual predator that he is. The entire party, from the transgender twerking for kindergartners and transgender story hour for first grade to the boys and the girls' locker room. That's going on in Virginia right now. The Democrats are still pushing because the Republican governor there, a good man, and the Republican State House passed laws protecting girls from boys. But really, what they're protecting the girls from is the Democrats, not children, the adults. That's where you need the protection.
You're listening to The Chris Plant Show.
Yeah, you bigots. You bigot don't want to give teenage girls double mastectomies and pump their bodies full of testosterone and puberty blockers. What kind of a bigot are you? This is the party of lynching and Jim Crow and standing in schoolhouse doors. Just a reminder. The Democrats also kept women from getting the vote, the 19th Amendment, for about 20 years while Republicans were pushing to get women the vote. The Democrats opposed that. Congressman Wesley Hunt has a 2-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old daughter.
When my two daughters work hard in the sport, work hard in their craft to be the best that they can be amongst other women, they will compete against other women. I owe Victoria and Olivia and every other young lady in this country that.
Victoria and Olivia, very good names, strong names for young women. Wesley Hunt seems like a good man, and he's 100% right, and his emotion is well-placed, I think. Wesley Hunt on really Stop the Lunacy.
We have an opportunity in this country to get this right in 2024 so we could stop all of this foolishness. But I cannot thank you ladies enough for bringing this up. I apologize that we live in America where this is happening. But thank God for the American spirit fire, and thank God for brave women like you, because it's brave women like you that are going to turn the tide so that future women won't have to suffer in the same way that you have. God bless you.
Talking to Chloe Cole, the Democrats had no use for her whatsoever. They call people bigots, the party of bigotry. Truly extraordinary stuff, I've got to say. And good for Congressman Hunt. Dr. Jennifer Bowens with the Family Research Council was testifying yesterday as well.
There are 245 meta-analytic reviews of varied treatment options for depression. Yet when it comes to gender dysphoria, there's only one path currently prescribed to help someone, and that's to become someone else.
And that's to become someone else, to genitally mutilate children. And that's what the Democrats are doing.